All right, so we are live now. This is Gary Kelly. I'm with Remax Executive Realty, and I'm sitting here with Chris Arient, who is one of the broker owners at Remax Executive Realty. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning,
Thank
Gary.
you for coming and spending some time chatting.
My pleasure, always.
So I think that we should start this out by saying this is just two guys having a conversation. I'd like to say over a beer, but it's 11 o'clock. We aren't doing beer yet.
I'm not 12 yet, right?
Although somewhere, I'm sure someone is. So it's just the two of us chatting. And so it's not a reflection on Remax as a whole or Remax Executive Realty. It's just the two of us chatting. One of the things that I'm finding is that my clients are paying a lot of attention to the little details. I do a video and people say, well, where's Sue? Well, Sue and I work together. We don't live together. She's at her house, safe. So there are times she hangs around with me. Okay. But you know, she's at her house, I'm at my house, etc. One of my clients yesterday said to me, Gary, you're not wearing your button-down shirts. You always wear button-down shirts. And so, Nancy, the shirt is for you today. It's because the dry cleaner's closed. So I'm wearing stuff I can do myself.
You're correct. I'm the same.
So Chris, as we look at where we are today, and this is April 7th, 2020, and this is live, the question I have is, how do we come out of this? What's that going to look like? And I know at some level, none of us really know. I'm just going to say that. At the same time, what are some scenarios you might see coming to pass as we start to take a look at coming out of this thing?
Gary, it's a great question and well stated by you. None of us know 100%. So these are all hypotheses, so to speak, based upon information, anecdotal and data that we've seen in the marketplace and what's happening. But I do have some opinions. These are trying times. I know agents are doing their darndest to still show homes in socially responsible ways, to use virtual tours, video, Matterport, Zillow videos, a bunch of different ones in an effort to still service their clients, but again, respecting social responsibility and the boundaries that we're supposed to be having. So my thought is, because many folks are holding off, quote unquote, either out of concern or they just feel like it's appropriate, I do think we're going to see a rebound of business. Now, will that rebound so far to be a buyer market? I don't know if it'll rebound that fast and that far, but I do think we're going to have an influx of inventory at some point. And, case in point, if we look at what's going on in China, they had relaxed some of the restrictions in China. And they had a weekend this past weekend, according to some of the news outlets, that was just crazy, filled with folks at different national sites and whatnot. And I think it's because people are dying to get out. They're dying for human contact. They would love to see their fellow neighbor, so to speak, their friends. And that's understandable. I think business is going to follow that way, if you will. I think you're going to see folks who are waiting to put their home on the market now, put it on later, and a lot of volume hit the market. So some people have theorized that we will see the spring market in the fall. I don't think that's too far from the truth. And again, just my opinion, but based on what I've seen, I think you're going to see an influx of business once this all ends, which, could be good.
See, I'm seeing in my particular case, I have clients that are ready to put their house on the market. And when this all started to happen, we kind of said, listen, do you really want people coming through your house? Maybe we tap the brakes. Maybe we let the dust settle a little bit. And generally speaking, people did that. We have one instance where someone said, no, I got to sell this house. I'm moving to South Carolina. I got to make this happen. It's got to happen now. We have another case of someone who we had just put the house on the market, and their house is still on the market, and we're still getting showings on it. So that's a good thing. But I do believe that once this is behind us, whatever that looks like, that we will see increased inventory and increased activity, and that's going to be a good thing.
I would agree with you. And the buyers that are out there now, as you just referenced, are serious. There are still multiple offers on homes that are happening now. But again, we're doing it in a much more socially responsible way, respecting the boundaries that have been laid out for us. what the governor has said, what our federal government has said. People are taking that very seriously. We, as an industry, are taking it very seriously in an effort to keep everybody safe and to, stem the tide of this virus. So, that is still happening, but I agree with you very much that I think we're going to see an influx of inventory in business once this all kind of starts to die down a little bit. We just don't know when that's going to be.
So I'm still out doing stuff in the field, and I would characterize it as draining my pipeline. Okay, so transactions that were underway, some fire departments are saying we're in a state of emergency. You'll have to let the buyers take care of it. And there's a process now in place for that. In Southborough, they said, well, we can do a FaceTime session with you. So we've scheduled a smoke detector inspection with FaceTime.
It's the first time I've heard that.
I hadn't heard it either, and Sue lives in Southborough, so Sue was helping set that up. It's a huge win, and it's like, do you want to do that now, or do you want to wait till May 5th? And I don't know that we know that May 5th is going to be solid, but the house has to sell, so I'll go over and take some video and wear a mask, gloves, whatever. How are people showing houses safely and responsibly today, at least as we understand it?
Yeah, that's a great question, Gary. So what we have seen and what we have outlined for folks in the industry is to be first and foremost responsive and responsible to your seller. And what we're also finding is different sellers have different needs and different levels of risk aversion, if you will. But some standard procedures are, and you referenced them, ensuring that there's not more than 2 folks in a home at a time, ensuring that agents have prospective buyers look at the virtual tour first to ensure that they're real buyers and that they're really interested and that they can see the home for what it is before entering. To make sure that people come in and they don't touch anything, that there's hand sanitizer available or gloves if necessary. Yes, sir. The gloves, if necessary, also are an effective way to do it. Booties or removing shoes or other articles of clothing that might have something on them. And what I've seen almost across the board and what we are recommending is, when possible, the listing agent is present for the showings in order to ensure that these things can happen. And a way to get around that, or to make that more viable, we're seeing group showings without the group. So an agent will schedule almost like, hey, we're going to have the house open, but not an open house. So say from 10 to 4 on Saturday, the home will be available for preview, for showing, to serious buyers, pre-qualified and ready, who've already watched the virtual tour, who will abide by the adherence of the gloves and the hand sanitizer and the COVID documentation that we now have in place. And then they can come in 2 at a time for 15-minute intervals while the listing agent's present. So obviously there's limitations on this as far as how it goes. And then again, risk aversion from different sellers, but we're seeing some success with that. We're still seeing multiple offers in certain situations, and we're getting homes sold using those parameters.
I was interested to learn that in Massachusetts, 1,318 homes were put on the market recently, and in the same last week, and in the same time frame, 1,367 sold. So there are still transactions out there happening. Yes, every day.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. And it's funny you bring that up, Gary, but when I had conversations with agents, even a week and a half to 2 weeks ago, and not just within RE/MAX Executive, but just across the industry, there's a debate, and there's still a debate going as to whether any of that should be happening. And, there are certain folks, again, risk aversion levels are different for different people who are feeling like that's not the right thing to do. I would submit that I believe that this can continue, and I think homes are going to continue to sell. The governor did declare that we were essential because we fall into that shelter piece. People need homes to live in, and right. You can have folks that need to buy and sell. So long as we're following and handling, following the right procedures, so to speak, I think we can do this safely and keep everybody safe at the same time. So yeah, to your point, homes are selling, and they're going to continue to sell.
I had a home inspection recently where, the home inspector said, I only want the buyer in the house. The buyer's agent chose not to come. And she asked me, would you normally go to a home inspection? And as a practical matter, I do typically go to the home inspections on my listings. And so what we did was I gloved up and masked up and all that. But then I took my phone and a battery pack because it was a typical long home inspection, and walked her around on a FaceTime session. Now, I'm sure at the end of that, she was seasick, but she was able to participate in the inspection and represent her clients when it came time to negotiate inspection issues.
Yep.
I had another one where someone said, listen, my company is not allowing our agents out to show properties, and I've got a buyer that wants to see this property. What do we do? Mm-hmm. And in that particular case, the right thing for my client was to show the property. And in this particular case, the client's saying, I got to get people in here to sell the property, so I'm willing to do that. And she mops up afterwards. So it works out. It works out well. But I think this is one where all of us need to be willing to bend a little bit. Maybe go out of our normal roles of saying, that's the buyer's agent job, and just try to work together, and we'll get through this.
100%. And I think well said by you, Gary. The good news here, the majority of cases, instances, we have seen a lot of bend, a lot of flexibility from everybody involved, from attorneys involved, from listing agents or buyer's agents, having those conversations and saying, hey, listen, we're all on the same side. We're in the same industry. We have the same goal. Our goal is to help our client and sell the home, buy the home, and get them into a home. So how do we do that the most effective way in this environment we're in now? Let's all work together and help each other out. And we've seen that across the board, and I think that's awesome. And honestly, I'm very hopeful that you're going to see more of that even when this ends.
What do you think is going to stick around afterwards?
I think a lot of the virtual touring, I think a lot of the technology usage, I think a lot of that is going to. And I think a lot of how this, there was a really interesting article in the Washington Post yesterday, and I put it out on Slack, that had talked about the industry as a whole and whether we were prepared for this type of virtual world. Obviously, the buying and the selling is still going to happen in the future. It's just how it's going to happen. And, are these things going to stick around? I think they are. And I think that we're going to have some excellent changes to the whole processes. I think it's going to streamline how attorneys are doing their jobs, how we are showing homes, how we're able to get people in and out of homes in a more effective and crystal clear way. I think we're going to be, a lot of this part is going to help us going forward. And again, a lot of this is just around, can we find a silver lining in this? It's a tragic time for many. It's an awful time across the board. But what can we find here positive? Can we pull something out of this to make ourselves better going forward, so we can do our jobs better for the public and for the consumers at large, and be better realtors and be better folks? That starts with collaboration. It really, really does. And well said. And I agree with you 100%.
I can't agree more. I think that this is an opportunity for us to really examine what we do on a daily basis and look at where there are efficiencies to be had and ways that people can, do a virtual walkthrough literally anytime. Truthfully, a lot of people spend their time at work surfing the net and looking at their houses and stuff like that. We get those calls. They're now home and they're still able to surf from home. So this is a case where I don't think it's necessary. I think that the world situation is horrible. Let me just say that. But I think that the efficiencies that we can learn and the takeaways from this, as you point out, it's the silver lining that we can all look forward to.
I agree. And I'm very confident that is what's going to come out of this. This too shall pass, as my mom used to always say, and we will get through this together. We will lead the way the best we can, keep people informed, and do the best jobs we can for our clients and for our agents and for just society. I mean, real estate is an enormous part of the economy. It's an enormous part of what people look at every day. Everybody loves knowing what their home is worth. They love to surf the net, as you just referenced, looking at homes, even if they're not in the market. There's ample amounts of TV shows dedicated to home renovation and flipping and everything else. So this is part of the fiber and fabric of this country and of the people in it. We're going to benefit as an industry, I feel, from the pieces we're learning how to do better. And we're going to take those and go forward, because other than that, I mean, otherwise this is all, I don't want to say it's all for naught, but it's just all negative. We got to find some positives in this that we can latch on to and make ourselves better for it.
I write a monthly article in a community advocate newspaper that's around here. And I in the article, I put down that this situation that we're finding ourselves in, it just sucks. And they pushed back and they said, I'm not sure that that's the best word. Maybe you could use stinks. And I said, okay, change it to stinks. And then I saw a Chronicle editorial where they were talking about how this sucks. It's the right word. So that article will be published and it will say sucks because this is just so bad. Well, Chris, I appreciate your spending some time talking about how you think this may change. Are there any other points that you want to bring to the table?
I want to reiterate, we have to work together. We have to be socially responsible, keep people safe. This is serious. This is a real thing and the world is dealing with it, but we are strong. We're a strong industry and we will get through this, and we'll get through it by implementing a lot of the things we just talked about and working together. Every situation is different. So have a conversation. If people are questioning whether they should or shouldn't be doing it, have the conversation. If people are concerned about their clients and whether they should or shouldn't be doing it, have the conversation. Reach out. None of us are smart as all of us, is what we like to say. So this is important that we continue to converse, be flexible, be supportive, and be helpful to people around us. Just do the right thing and we'll be in good shape. That's kind of how I look at it. I know it sounds simple, but that's just how I look at it.
So Chris, you're one of the 3 broker owners of RE/MAX Executive. If someone had a follow-up question for you, how can they reach you?
They can feel free to reach me via email or cell phone. Email is chris.arienti@gmail. And they can call me anytime, 617-697-0528. I'm available to help, to serve, and to support whatever you guys need.
Well, thank you, Chris. I appreciate your time and spending some time talking to us about how you see us, coming out of this situation.
I appreciate the opportunity, Gary. Thank you for spending the time with me.
Thanks, Chris.
All right, man.